Welcome in to this instructional video on how to build one of our Monstrous Makings Adventurers packs. First up, lay everything out. Make sure you've got everything you need. There should be two slightly darker 2mm frames with the bedroll and the internal sections. There should be one 3mm skin frame with all of the details on, the etch details, and there should be one separate 3mm back piece, along with two 19cm pieces of slightly thinner elastic and one 4cm piece of slightly wider elastic. We're going to be using super glue today. I'm running a little bit low, but we'll have enough for today. You can use other glues like aliphatic resin, superphatic glue, and all sorts of things like that. But I don't have any to hand, so good old super glue. Slightly thick super glue, not really runny stuff, is much better for this. And then you will need a hobby knife of some description. So we're going to start with the internal 2mm frame, so we'll pile the rest up for now. And you can see that it is cut on the frame but still stuck inside. That is because on the back, I don't know if it will show up on the video. If we can do it, no, it's not going to show up. The camera is not good enough. There are little tabs on each piece where we haven't cut all the way through, and this is what you're going to need your hobby knife for. Don't be tempted to try and push things out, because you will break the corners. So you're going to get your hobby knife, and you're going to go in the back and find where those bits are, and put a gentle pressure until you hear a little pop, and that should have released the tabs. I'm probably going to fast forward here and get this sheet cut out. So those are all the bits we need for now. We'll put this frame back on the pile, and then we're going to lay out our pieces. One side will have a slight scorch to it from the laser, the other side should be pretty clean. So if we lay the scorched side down, and we're going to build the internal net of our box, and we'll make sure the pieces fit together in the way that they're going to. Like so. We've got the angled pieces. The shorter side comes to the front, the taller side goes to the back. And now we're going to get our glue, and we're going to pop some glue. Pick one piece to start, it doesn't matter which piece. We're going to pop some glue on both sides of the tabs. So on this outer section here, and then on this bit as well. And then using the base as a template, but not gluing to the base just yet, we're going to push those two bits together. Let me move slightly more towards the middle of the screen. Like that. Whilst that's drying, we'll grab the next piece. We'll pop some glue on that one. Again, not on the bottom yet, just on the side. And using our base as our template again, we're going to get it assembled. So keep going on the last piece. This time we're going to put glue on both sides, but still not on the bottom. Like so. And a bit of pressure from all sides at once will hold that together. Now we're going to pop the bottom on. So with the super glue, it dries pretty quickly. If you're using other types of glue, you may want to put an elastic band around it to hold it while you do this. So flip it over, pop the bottom off, and then we're going to put some glue on the corners from the bottom. And then we're just going to run a couple of beads of glue along the inside of these tabs, so that all parts of this base will then assemble. And then, because this is going to be the outside of the box, let's go with the nice clean side. It is symmetrical, so it doesn't actually matter, but we're going to go with the clean version for this one. So that is our internal box assembled. We're going to put that aside for now while we work on the next bit. Now, as I just mentioned, we're going with a cleaner, pristine look for this box, which is something you have the option of doing, or you can keep the charring on the thing. But with this one, we've got quite heavy charring at the bottom here, and because of the way the Scholars Pack, which is the one we're building, is designed, the ink stain here is quite heavily charred. So, also being a Scholars Pack, it's going to be on the cleaner end than, say, an Explorer or a Dungeoneer's pack. So we're going to take some 180 grit sandpaper, and we're going to rub all over the surface of the MDF. Doing it while it's still in the frame means we're going to protect the edges. We're not going to accidentally round over an edge that we shouldn't, because we can't get down there. So again, I'll probably fast forward from here. And there we go. Don't worry if initially it looks like you've rubbed off the detail. That is quite simply the sawdust, the sanding dust, it's already coming back, falling into the cracks. So give it a blowout or a brush off. There we go, and we have all our lovely etch detail back in. Don't worry about sanding off these two, they will be hidden once your box is assembled. This piece goes over the front of here, and this one is hidden behind the bedroll. So if you can if you want, I'm obviously not going to stop you, but I find there is less point in those. Okay, so now that we've got our pieces prepared for our clean, pristine version, we're going to cut them out. So let's fast forward again while I pop this out of the frame. Okay, we're back. We've cut all these pieces out. That frame is now gone. We don't need that one anymore. And then we're going to once again lay all our pieces out so that we know what goes where. We've got our front. We've got our two pieces for the front top. We've got our back piece. Ooh, I'm almost out of frame here. Let's move over a little bit. That's better. We've got our back piece. We've got our lid for the very top of it. So for now, we're going to pop these pieces for the lid out of the way, and we're going to get our skin attached to our box. You don't need a whole lot of glue for these pieces, just enough to hold them on. They aren't structural. We've got the structure of the internal box already. Excuse me. And excuse me while I wait for glue. Probably fast forward this bit. So just a tiny bit on these corners here. That is the one structural point that helps form the hinge. But I've just put a few dots on there. The bottom piece here then lines up in here, and it goes on there. Nice and flush at the bottom. Make sure the one bit that needs to be good is this bit here, because that's the hinge. So make sure that's nice and straight there. And a little bit of pressure, and that's on. Now we're going to move to the front. We'll put the front on next. Because they all locate into the base, you don't need to worry about them matching each other. They don't have any fittings to each other. Just there. Make sure that's good at the bottom. Bit of pressure and we're in. And then just make sure everything's clean. This prototype didn't quite cut through properly. Yours will all be nice and clean cuts. So on the side there. As you can see, this one overlays, or comes around the front and around the back, which is why we put these on second, just in case there's a little bit of misalignment. Just a few dots of super glue. This is why the gel is better personally for this application, because you can put a blob, and when you squidge it, that blob will spread out slightly. And there we have, almost complete, sorry. We have our little tag here, our little catch for the lid. We can either put glue on the tab, or we can put some glue in the slot. Doesn't matter either way. And then that goes in the slot there, like that. That's going to hold our lid closed. That can go to one side for now. Now, before we can finish building the top, we do need one more piece from this 2mm frame, which is this piece right here. There we go. And then the only bits we need from here now are in this corner. So let's pop that piece off there. We'll keep that, and we can get rid of the rest. And then we have the back piece for the top of our pack. Now we're going to lay the pack out like we did before. These pieces go together. These pieces on the sides, that's the top and that's the back. Now this top piece does have a front and a back. You'll notice as you put it together, but the tabs, the slots at the back, I don't know if you can see it, are slightly thinner than the slots at the front, because the slots at the front take the 3mm from the front, and the slots at the back take the 2mm off the back piece. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start, actually, nope, we're going to go back slightly. We'll go back. We do actually want to get the straps sort of sorted now. So we're going to take our two little buckles that go on the straps on the top. I'm going to move this out of the way. We're going to get our buckles ready. because it is much easier to get the straps sorted before the lid is attached to the box. So there we have our two buckles, and we're going to get our two longer pieces of elastic, and we're going to thread them through the bottom on the outside, and then through the back, and put it roughly in the middle. There's no need to fix the position now, we can move it around later. You don't even have to glue these at all to it if you don't want to. So there. Now we need this square front piece with the 3 slots in it, and we're going to put each of our straps through one side here. Now pay attention when you're doing it that the buckle is the correct way round, and we're going to push the strap through and pull it all the way to the buckle. Same with this one. Push it through all the way to the buckle, so the buckles are the right way round on the front. We're now going to join these to form a loop. Now there are many ways you can do it. I'm finding super glue is doing absolutely fantastic job. You could, if you're proficient, sew these. I suppose you could staple them. The overlap, there is between 1 and 2 centimeters of overlap. I originally calculated that the strap length needed to be 17 centimeters before I had any overlap for gluing them together. So 1 to 2 centimeters of overlap in there. I'm finding this gel super glue is working wonders. Just squidge some on, hold it together between your fingers for a couple of seconds, and it's good to go. Now these straps do occasionally get in the way a little bit when we're moving forward, but this stage is so much easier now than later on. So they're done. We can now attach the back of this piece. So we're going to fold our straps out of the way. We're going to take our other front piece, which has got the single slot and the 2 divots in the top, and that piece goes on the back here. The slot in the middle lines up so that you can see through it. There we go. And the 2 divots at the top go against the bottom of the elastic there. So we're going to put some glue on the charred side so that it's the correct way around. And this is why I said that we didn't need to sand this bit, because the charred side is completely glued on the inside of here. So it's important to note that the bottom matches and that the sides match up, so that there are no tabs on this, but if you've got the elastic in first, then it helps you locate the top. Make sure that middle slot you can still see through, because we're going to put some more elastic through there in a minute, and that is that done. Now we're going to do the other elastic now. We're going to grab our short 4 centimeter piece of elastic. We're going to get the last of our 2mm from the first frame, which has got the little handles on it, and we're going to pop those out. And you will notice that the weird shaped bit has got a little etch section. That matches up to the size of the tiny little square that you get in there, which is really difficult to get in focus on the camera. And they go together like that. So we're going to pop a little bit of glue in the etch. And then our little tiny square goes in there. Again, a bit of pressure, but super glue on the MDF. A little bit more difficult inside the etch, but it will hold. And then once that's set up, that will be nice and good. So now we're going to take our 4cm bit, and we're going to take the back, so the opposite side to the side we've just glued it on. We're going to cover that in glue, and then matching our piece of elastic up to the front end so that it completely covers the back. We see that, so the end of the elastic matches up with the end of the piece, and we're going to glue that on. So that looks like so. I'm going to come back to our front piece. This has all the elastic on. Make sure it's the right way up. So the buckles are at the top, the slot is at the bottom, and any words on it the correct way up. And we're going to pass this elastic through that gap there, and around to the back, and then it's going to glue up this way here. So a little squidge of glue again, like so. And then this, so long as this piece goes doesn't have to go all the way to the top, but goes most of the way to the top of this first sheet. It shouldn't overlap here. You should still have this ledge, but it should glue up something like so. That is all of our elastic on and assembled. Now, to aid us in the next section, we're going to fold these straps down underneath out of the way, because we now don't need them up top again until we come to glue the top on. Glue this bit to this bit. So we're going to start with one of the sides. Dry fit everything. Whenever you're building anything, always dry fit it. Make sure it goes in. So keeping the front piece the correct way, the right way up. You'll have the slant at the bottom, hole at the back, and the right angle piece at the top. And like so. We're going to pop a bit of glue in the back here. And then along this edge here. Like so. Essentially everywhere that this touches. And then we're going to put this in. Now we don't want this to set up completely before we do the next stage, because we're going to put the top on to give us our right angle. So we come to, where are we? The flat side. We're going to put this piece on now. So coming on the inside, we don't want to get glue on top of the elastics so that they still move. But there is plenty of space either side. Put a little bit of glue on the outside. We're going to go all along this brown section here. I realise it's all kind of brown, but the laser cut edges are browner than the beige the MDF. And along this edge here. Come on, glue. I know there's enough in there to do this. There we are. Now, I should have dry fit this piece first, but remember I said you've got the larger and the smaller tabs. The larger cutouts go to the front here, so we're going to go in there, into that slot, and then make sure that this is now flush. I have somehow surprised myself and managed to get it bang on first time, but there will be some play in it, so you can move this, clamp it. If you're using super glue, it will go off pretty quickly, and you can just go from here. If you're using another type of glue, I would suggest you clamp this, come back to it once it's set. You don't want this moving as you go on to the next stage. So now we're going to attach this back piece here, and to do that we need to make sure this elastic is inside. So where your join is, you want to pull on the elastic until your join stops. So your join won't go through the hole. That way the join is going to be on the inside and won't be unsightly on the outside. So pull until the join is there. We're now going to fold these pieces back over the top. So that they are roughly where they need to be. And this is where our tiny little piece of 2mm comes in. We can see it's got pins in the corners that fit in the corners here. It's got little divots in here that go around the elastic. Now remember, dry fit this first. It is a bit of a tight squeeze, this one, like so. Now you can, if you want to, just get it in there. Actually, I think that's what we'll do for this one. Just get it in there, and then instead of, this isn't massively structural, so we're just going to come on the inside now that we've got it in place, and we're going to squidge a couple of bits of glue along the inside to hold it in place. What is important is that these edges here are flush and line up. If there is a bulge here or it's the wrong way, this piece won't fit into this groove at the back when it opens. There aren't many things to watch out for when you're building these boxes, but just a couple of little pitfalls that can make it a bit more difficult later. There's fixes for all of it if something goes wrong, but there we are. Now it is time to put the last side on, but to do that we have to do it with the box. So we're going to take the pins on one side and I'm going to pass them through the hole. Leave the whole box on its side. Why is that not? Okay. Whole box on its side like that. And again, dry fit, make sure you know which way around it's going. Most of these pieces have got some etching on, but some of them don't. Make sure we know where it goes. And then making sure to avoid the hole with your glue, because we don't want the hinge sticking. We're going to put some glue, I think we can see it, across the top. Around this pin at the bottom, hopefully you guys can see that, and there. But essentially you're putting glue wherever it is going to touch, apart from around the hinge. Now I find it easier to get the hinge, lay it over the hinge, and then this side can be a little bit finicky, but there we are, it's in. That's our box assembled. Just checking it all works and goes together. It goes back and it stays back because we've got this piece under here in the right place and it fits in that groove on the back. That's the base box done. If you don't want the bedroll, you can stop there. You can shorten these, pull them down so that they're just some surface detail. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the bedroll now, which is this entire 2mm sheet here. You can again sand this one over the top with the 180 grit, which will, where is it? We've got the, oh, it's the Dungeoneers pack that I did last time. It brightens it up where I sanded this one compared to the other one next to it. But I'm not going to do it for this one because time consuming, and these will all come off and move between boxes anyway, so I can do it later. So we'll go ahead and fast forward and cut out all the pieces. There we go, all of our pieces are cut out and you'll see your living hinge will bend nicely. Don't try and bend it any too tight, but just give it a flex, loosen it up slightly and then put it to one side. We are going to start with our two end caps and our internal pieces. We're going to glue them together so that this, whoops, so you guys can see, this slot here on the end, or this slot here, matches up to the end of the roll. So they just glue on the back, charred side to the inside, and hopefully you can see, we're just going to make sure that the end matches up to the end of the bedroll like so. Otherwise you just make sure the tops match up. There are no tab holes on this. But we're going to a couple of dots of PVA glue, not PVA. I thought PVA would be good because you've got time to get it in the right place. And PVA will work for all of the components of this. Just be aware that there would be a setting time on that before you can move on to the next piece. So a couple of dots of glue on there, line it back up. I find just having my thumb and my finger, where is it, my finger around the other side, helps me get those two edges lined up. Bit of pressure, and with the super glue we're done. So we'll go to the other side. Now make sure when you're doing these that they are mirrored. So that one is on this side, that one is on this side, so we need to match up this piece to this divot here. None of this is going to affect functionality. It will still work, it just won't look like a nice continuous bed roll over the top. So there we are, a bit of pressure there. Now to make sure it fits, we're going to come to our deck box, we'll fold our straps down and out the way for now, and we'll take the base of our bedroll, just place it on top like so. It should be the exact same width here, but because there's some variance in the thickness of the MDF that I unfortunately can't control, there's always the chance that these side pieces may be slightly proud. So instead of just gluing these pieces to this separate, we're going to place the top on here, and then we're going to glue them down on the top. To do that, we're going to put glue just along the brown edge on this inner one here, along this straight brown edge here. We're going to try not to get any glue on this surface here, because then it's got a chance of sticking to the side of the box. So with that central there, this piece goes on the side, and center it as best you can. The little tiny tabs in the corners make it quite easy to center it, but there is no specific place that it goes. And then with your finger on the side of the box, like so, pressing in, making sure that the piece of MDF is pressed against the box itself down here, not pressing any higher. So that one's in place. We'll do the same on the other side. There we go. I'm going to pressure just at the bottom, sideways, and enough pressure down that your glue is going to bond. And then I would leave that for a few minutes just to set up before you continue, just because these are quite easy to knock off now. Until we've got the next pieces on, it's not very stable. But I'm going to forge on because we want to get this tutorial done. We're going to come to our straight pieces now. These fit into those little grooves like so. So to start with, we're just going to pop a bit of glue on the inside of the ends. So the inside is the non-charred side. So one side will be slightly darker because it's got charring on it from the laser. The inside will be slightly lighter. So a little bit of glue on each end, and then into those grooves in there for one side. We'll turn it around, we'll come to the other side. and we'll get those in. Now that those are in, I'm just going to pop a couple of little spots of glue on the insides here to help hold those in place. Now if you've let it set up like you probably should do from the outside, then you won't have an issue with these. Otherwise, just keep your finger on the outside as you squeeze the glue in here. And we are so close to being done. Now, I thought I had some activator here. That now needs to set up for a minute, because the last stage we need to do all in one kind of fluid motion, and we can't really afford for any of this to fall apart. So leave that to set up for a minute.
One eternity later.
Okay, so now that this bit's set, I've just used a little tiny bit of super glue activator on mine to set up all the joints. You can use super glue activator throughout the whole process, but beware, it is moisture, and this is MDF. Mostly it will just evaporate off, but especially the 3mm is a little bit more porous, so be careful when using it there. Okay, so the gist of this is we're going to pop some glue on the back here. Actually, no, we're going to turn it around. It doesn't matter, but personally I prefer to have it this way around, so that when the thing opens, it feels like that the bedroll is peeling open. Like so. But it functionally doesn't matter, so it's entirely up to you. So we're going to get some glue, and we're going to put it on this edge and a few degrees up the side as well. The exact amount is up to you, but it's going to determine how far your box will open in the long run. And then once we've done that, we're going to get this all the way on here, and then we're going to get the straps onto the top to hold it while it dries. So it's a bit of a process. I've done a few of these. It can get a bit fiddly, but for the most part it's not too bad. If you're using a slower glue, something like PVA or Superfatic or something like that, you'll have time to work. Super glue is a little bit less forgiving, so bear that in mind. But the elastic will hold everything in place, so you don't need extra clamps. I'm getting to the end of my super glue here. You can see I'm just going up the sides. Like so. We'll take our living hinge, charred side, where are we? Charred side out, fresh side in. We're going to line it up at the bottom. We're going to curl it round with the rest of our hand, and then get your elastic over the top. Now you can take the chance to move your buckles into position. That is going to hold it on the sides, but you'll notice it's not quite grabbing the bottom, so just to get some pressure in there, or you can shift your bedroll off the back slightly, the elastic will then pull it in tight. Once that's set up, you can then return the bedroll to a more central position, and it'll hold the front. But we're not gluing the front, and then you're done. You've got your deck box, which opens up. If it's a little bit sticky to open up, like this one is, then what you've got is a little bit of binding on the back here. You've got a few options. It feels like, yeah, so our piece here is moved ever so slightly. So I'm just going to go in with my hobby knife and prise that out a bit there. There we go. The other option you could do is you could trim off carefully with a knife the edge in here, if it's binding as it opens, but just that little bit of working has done it for me. If it rubs in use, it will work its way down. That's fine. And then to close it, we're going to grab our little tab here, pull it down so that the elastic goes through the catch, and then we can just let it go. Exactly the same in reverse to open it. Pull down on the little tab so that the elastic comes out, the elastic comes up, and we're open. There we go. That is one Scholar's Pack finished. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy using your Adventurers pack. Please leave comments, leave feedback, let me know if anything needs improving, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye for now.